2 of Late Night Health continues with one of our favorite people, Greg Celaya. He is not only a doctor of chiropractic, he is also a nutritionist with an advanced degree and lots of initials after his name. This man knows what he's talking about. Dr. Celaya, welcome back to Late Night Health.
Hey, Mark. Good to be on the show.
We're going to talk about an inflamed brain. Inflamed brain. Is that a brain that has inflammation? Is that basically what that means?
Well, it's kind of like most people think, that inflammation is just of arthritic joints or sprained ankle, but yes, you can have inflammation of the brain as well.
Would that give you things like brain fog and cause other illnesses?
Yeah, brain fog, dull, mental capacity, you're just slow, you're not thinking correctly. There's a lot more to it as well. Inflammation has been linked to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Inflammation is rapidly becoming, the thought of inflammation is rapidly becoming the cause of disease, of Parkinson's, of Alzheimer's, cancer, and other diseases. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a tough dilemma, because does the inflammation cause the problem, or the problem causes the inflammation? And we just don't know at this point. Is it the immune system going astray and working too hard and damaging things? I don't know.
And nobody does yet. The research is ongoing.
The brain is so complicated. What may be something or correct for one person is completely opposite for another, just because of how the whole brain functions.
So one person can have an inflamed brain and manifest one disease and another?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, and the problem is that most people don't even know they have an inflamed brain, right? They're thinking that, I just have a little brain fog, or I'm just slow, or my cognition isn't really that great, or sometimes you don't recognize any of those things. Somebody else has to recognize those for you. And then you have to be open enough to accept that thought process from somebody else.
As you're getting older, we often, there's a stereotype on TV about, the old guy down the street, the old guy or old woman who, has 10 cats and is somewhat demented because of her age. We don't have to live that way. We don't have to. Our brains don't have to age, do they?
Well, here's what happens. You're born with a certain number of neurons, these nerve cells in your brain. And every day you have nerve cell death. And what happens at that point, you have other cells that make up for that nerve cell death becoming more efficient in taking over their jobs. Well, as we get older, those other cells become less efficient at taking over their jobs, and you end up with a problem. That's number one. Number two, you could have increase in nerve cell death due to so many different things. I mean, traumas like you see in all these football stars, right? They're having problems because the inflammation has started way back when and then just doesn't slow. Foods, exposures.
I was just thinking of Muhammad Ali being hit so many times in the head.
Right, and you look at the football players now that are dealing with chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I mean, they're out there, and you could see what's happening. So, one of the theories is once you have severe inflammation starting with the brain, it doesn't stop; it keeps going.
What is encephalopathy? You say
it. Basically, it's a chronic degenerative brain disease that can be caused by trauma.
Wow.
So the football players, Muhammad Ali, that kind of stuff. They get hit so many times, and the inflammation just gets so great that it just keeps destroying cells and neurotransmitters.
And what about for the rest of us, trauma, car accident?
Absolutely. I mean, you know that one.
Yeah, I do. I was in a car accident about 5 months ago. About a week after or before, we can't remember, with Daryl and his wife had one too. And
sure.
It's amazing to me that after 5-6 months, you still have injury, and you can trace it back to that time, to that trauma.
Were nerve cells destroyed is one thing. Is it just inflammation that's causing stagnation in that area, or are other nerve cells not making up for destruction?
Our guest is Dr. Greg Celaya. We are talking about the inflamed brain, inflammation of the brain. As Dr. Celaya has just said, we all know about inflammation of like a wrist or an elbow, a knee, the back, but other organs, including the brain, can show inflammation. Now, if you go in as a scientist, can a scientist go in and examine a brain to see if it is indeed inflamed?
Well, you can do that, with animals, if so be it.
Right.
Number two, autopsy. They can evaluate. It's kind of hard to actually determine exactly if there's inflammation of the brain because you kind of have to get there.
You can't go in and examine it. Got it.
No, and you're seeing a lot of the research is done on rat and mouse models because it's an easier thing to understand. And
you don't have to offer a human. While I don't like animal research, I guess it's being done. And as long as it's done...
It's being done, and what else do you do? I don't know the answer.
I mean,
I feel bad either way. What are you going to do?
Exactly. On the other hand, I don't like rats or mice anyway, so...
yeah.
Right. As you know, I'm even afraid of spiders, so... What are you going to do? I guess you treat the inflamed brain by symptoms like depression.
Sure. One of the things is that these injured or damaged cells release something called cytokines, which signal an inflammatory response to repair the tissues. But at the same time, these cytokines or signaling chemicals hamper the activity of serotonin, which is the joy and well-being brain chemical, and it's linked with depression.
And what about some of the? Does that stop the production of the good, feel good hormones?
It can alter it, sure. There was a research study here. I think it was in 1955 to 65. 59 to 66.
Right.
They found that children that were pregnant that reported a flu during pregnancy had proportionately 4 times as many diagnoses of bipolar disorder later in life, these children, due to the inflammatory response for the flu. I mean, you know how you feel during a flu or cold.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And it's because of the inflammation that you've got going on in your brain.
Is it also, but what about throughout the body? I mean, causing mucus and all that other
Absolutely.
stuff.
Sure. I mean, it's everywhere. But the brain's not spared either.
And this is relatively new then. I mean, the information.
Well, the information's been out there a long time. It's just a matter of what to do about it.
Right. So let's take a look at that. Well, wait, before we do that, let me clarify. Have scientists and doctors and nutritionists known about an inflamed brain for more than just a few years? Have they known about it since the 50s or 60s?
Since research was out from then, sure. But it's just a matter of getting the information out there that people want to listen to and understand. I mean, it's not an easy thing to treat brain inflammation, and normal medical care doesn't offer a lot of solutions. The solutions take a bit more work from the patient.
And it also...
And a lot of patients don't care.
And a lot of patients aren't aware of this either.
Well, how many times do you see somebody older that is having issues, and they don't know they're having issues? They think everything is the same, but you can't tell them because they don't think they have a problem.
Right.
I mean, you see it all the time. You just mentioned the cranky old lady with 10 cats.
Right.
Well, you go and tell her you've got a problem, and she's going to tell you to hit the road.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. And it's hard for children to say to mom or dad, it's time to stop driving. You're not capable of it anymore. cognitively
Absolutely.
or physically. It was
Sure.
it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is taking away my mother's car. Very difficult.
So you understand.
Oh, absolutely. What about, we talked about depression. Autism is climbing. Could this be due to inflammation of the brain?
Oh, absolutely. There's been research, and they're looking into it, and there is inflammatory issues. Now, is it the inflammatory issues that cause the Alzheimer's? The autism, or is it autism that just has a byproduct of inflammation?
Wow. And there's some other things that we can talk about when we come back. Finding out if you're sensitive to gluten, and some taking flavonoids and balancing hormones. And I'm getting all this information from Dr. Greg Celaya's weekly blog, and we'll give you that information. How do people read your blog, Dr. Celaya?
Go to drcelaya.com, and in the right-hand portion of that page is a link to my blog, and you can go see all the past blog articles.
Terrific. And there's some really good ones here, too. Okay, Dr. Greg and I will be back in just a couple of moments. And in the meantime, you can visit us at latenighthealth.com, latenighthealth.com. Late Night Health moves forward.